Hi, this is a PowerPoint video about Social Security. Maybe you can detect my subtle font color above. What color is it? Why did I put it in gray? Because we are talking about, oops, because we're talking here about old people. Social Security is a federal government program for old people. In the Great Depression in the 1930s, elderly poverty was a big problem. We had a lot of old, low income people in the United States. So in 1935, President Franklin D. Roosevelt and Congress made the Social Security Act. What were its goals? To get old people to retire in order to open up blank for the young people. Has this program been effective? Has it been successful? Yes. And today, you might have your Social Security card, or your parent or parents might have your Social Security card, or guardians might have this, and it's got your Social Security number on it. Social Security is officially called OASD, and you might see it labeled like this on your paycheck when you pay your Social Security tax. OASD stands for what? It stands for Old Age Survivor and Disability Insurance. So, old age is for people over 65. S, survivor, that's for children of working parents who died, or widows whose working spouse died. So, for example, a couple years ago, my father passed away, and he had worked, and then he retired, and he was getting Social Security, and he passed away. So now my mom is a survivor. She's a widow, and she gets his Social Security checks. If you look here at the pie graph, you can see that almost all of the OASD benefits go to retired workers, and then there are also some disabled workers and orphans and that kind of thing. It's for old age survivors and disabled people's insurance. How is Social Security funded? It's funded by payroll taxes. It's called a pay as you go system. So every paycheck, the employee, that is the worker, pays 6.2% of their paycheck into the Social Security Trust Fund. That's part of the federal government. Also, your boss, that is the company where you work, your employer, has to pay 6.2%. So 6.2 plus 6.2 means 12.4, almost 12.5, almost 1/8 of each paycheck goes into the Social Security Trust Fund. Does it pay for you? Does it pay for your retirement? No. The payments go to today's retirees, disabled people, and survivors. So you and I pay 6% of our paychecks, and it goes to people who are retired today. Who then is going to help pay for our retirement when we're older? The future workers are going to pay 6.2% of each paycheck, and their employers are going to pay 6.2%, and the future workers will help pay for our retirement when we are older. This is what's known as an intergenerational deal. It's today's workers paying for today's retirees. The generations are taking care of each other. For 2020, the first $138,000 you earn each year is subject to the 6.2% Social Security tax. But any money you make above $138,000 is not hit with the Social Security tax. All right. So the maximum amount of Social Security tax a taxpayer could pay is going to be roughly $8,500. Again, that is 6.2% of the first $138,000 you earn. Any money you earn above 138 is not taxed for Social Security. And what is the maximum that an employer would have to pay? What has happened to that cap over time? That cap over time, what's happened to it? So again, in 2020, any money you earn above 138 is not taxed for Social Security. Some practical advice. If you retire early, you will not get your full Social Security benefits. If you retire later, you will get more. So, for example, if you look here, all right, for this generation, if you retire at 66, you get your full 100% of your benefits. If you keep working past that, you'll get a little bit more. If you retire early at, say, 62, then you'll only get 75% of your benefits. Okay, this is the benefit schedule. If you were born between 1943 and 1954, this is the famous baby boomer generation born right after World War II. Why does the government set it up like this? The government is trying to incentivize you to do what? For younger people, maybe like your parents, if you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. So, again, if you retire at 67, you get 100% of the Social Security benefits you're entitled to. If you retire early, you don't get everything you're entitled to. And if you keep working beyond 67, then you'll get even more. Why does the government set it up that way? They're trying to incentivize you to keep doing what? Unfortunately, most people do not wait to collect Social Security. If you look here, this shows us when people claim Social Security, and a lot of people retire at 62. All right. If they do that, do they get their full benefits? Yes or no? Should you wait as long as you can? Should you keep working and should you wait as long as you can to collect Social Security? Yes or no, and why? How are Social Security benefits determined? First of all, let me just say that the average monthly check is about $1,500. So you would get about $1,500 from the federal government each month. That helps. How is that determined? Part of the government, called the Social Security Administration, multiplies your monthly earnings times a coefficient in order to bring your past wages closer to your current wage. They then calculate your 35 top earning years, and your monthly Social Security check is based on that. So if you started working in your 20s, maybe you weren't earning that much money. But they look at your top 35 earning years, basically 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and your monthly Social Security check is based on that. That's looking at the dollars. You also have to look at percents. And Social Security is a big help for a lot of senior citizens. For about half of seniors, it provides at least 50% of their income. For 1 in 4 senior citizens, it provides at least 90% of their income. It's not supposed to provide everything. The government isn't supposed to take care of you 100% in your retirement. You're supposed to save money and you're supposed to take care of yourself, but this Social Security money helps. Social Security benefits are progressive. What does that mean? Does that mean it affects the rich more, or it affects everyone the same, or it affects the poor more? If you look here, you can see Social Security benefits are progressive. All right. So here we have the earnings level. And if you were a high earner or a maximum earner, then your benefits here in dark orange are higher than medium or low income people. All right. So everyone who works gets Social Security. Everyone, even the rich. So Tom Brady's a multimillionaire and he's paying taxes. When he retires, he's going to get Social Security checks. Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Bill Gates of Microsoft, are millionaire celebrities and musicians and actors and movie stars and celebrities and musicians, all the rich. Everyone gets Social Security as long as you worked. So the question is, should the rich get Social Security? Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, Bill Gates of Microsoft, they're going to get Social Security checks from the government. Should they or should they not? And why? All right, has Social Security worked? Has it been effective? Well, we've got time on the x axis, and let's look and see here the percent of elderly poverty. If you look down here, you can see what's happened to elderly poverty over time. The elderly poverty rate has gone where? And you see here Social Security expenditures. Our spending on Social Security has gone where? And our elderly poverty has gone where? So, has Social Security worked? Has it been effective in reducing elderly poverty? Here it is another way. These are poverty rates by age. And you can see here old people basically in this pink color. What has happened to the poverty rate of old people? Has it gone up, down, or stayed the same? Here it is again. In blue, we have people 65 years and older. What has happened to their poverty rate and why? Meanwhile, if you look at children under the age of 18, what's happened to our children's poverty rate and why? What would happen without Social Security? Well, look at this graph. Social Security dramatically cuts poverty among senior citizens. All right, so including Social Security, about 9 or 10% of senior citizens are poor. If we excluded Social Security, about 40%, 4 out of 10 senior citizens would be poor. Social Security is especially important for people of color for various reasons, including history, institutional racism, different jobs. People of color tend to earn less than white people. So people of color are especially dependent on Social Security checks. Okay, it really helps them. It also really helps women. As you can see here, it says Social Security is especially beneficial for women. Women tend to earn less than men do. Part of that is because of sexism. Women also tend to take more time out of the paid workforce. Maybe they took a couple years off to take care of their kids or take care of their parents. Women also tend to live longer. They tend to take better care of themselves, less drug use than the men. They live longer, so they need more retirement money. They accumulate less savings since they're getting paid less, and they usually receive smaller pensions from their job. So, Social Security is especially beneficial for women. How big is Social Security now? Well, we spend about $1 trillion on it each year. What fraction of the federal government budget is Social Security? Roughly what fraction of the budget goes to Social Security? Remember, in order to evaluate a program and an issue, you need to look not just at the US, but at other places. So let's compare our Social Security benefits with other countries. All right, so here you see Social Security benefits for the average worker as a percent of their earnings. Social Security in the US is supposed to provide about 40% of what you'll need for retirement. Again, the government's not going to pay for all of your retirement. They're just going to help you with about 40%. If you look at the rest of the OECD, that is the rich countries of Canada and in Europe and Japan and South Korea, Australia and New Zealand, the average is about 53%. The government pays for about half your retirement. So, how do the Social Security benefits in the United States compare? Do we have the best Social Security benefits in the world? About average? The worst Social Security benefits? How do we compare to other countries? Let's also look at how does the US elderly poverty rate compare to other countries? All right. Do we have a lot of old poor people? So here you can see it. These countries here are in green. They get an A for having a low poverty rate. And these countries get a B, C, D. So, how does the US elderly poverty rate compare to other countries? Are we in better shape, the same, or worse? And do you think we should spend more on Social Security or less? And why? Here it is again. This graph tells you where is pensioner poverty, where's retired people's poverty the most prevalent or widespread. So you can compare us here to Japan, very rich, England, Germany, very rich, France, Canada, very rich. How does our elderly poverty rate compare? Are we better than them, worse than them, about average? There is a problem with Social Security. We have a lot of people who are about to retire. The baby boomer generation is about to retire. And so they're going to collect a lot of Social Security, and the program is slowly going to run short of money. It won't go to zero. Social Security will still give us about three-quarters of what we're supposed to get because people will keep paying Social Security taxes out of their paycheck. But there are going to be a lot of people retiring. The country's getting older. So you can have a lot of people taking out of the Social Security system and not as many workers paying taxes into it. Here it is again. We're going to have more and more old people. They're going to retire here. And with the retirement of the baby boomers, they're going to collect a lot of checks, and the Social Security funds are going to decrease, and we'll only get about three-quarters of what we should get. Again, we paid into the system. We paid 6.2% of each paycheck. We should get 100% of our benefits. But because the program is running out of money, it looks like we're only going to get about three-quarters of what we should get. Do you think that's fair? And how does that make you feel? The root problem here comes to demography and the age structure of the population. For example, if you look at Afghanistan here in 2010, this is what we call a population pyramid. Afghanistan has a lot of young people working and paying taxes. They don't have that many old people to take care of. So they have a lot of workers taking care of just a few old people. That is what we call a good dependency ratio. But if you look here, for example, at Germany, Germany's got a lot of old people up here and not that many workers. Okay, so this is called the graying problem. Your population's getting older and grayer. You got all these old people collecting Social Security checks, not that many workers paying into it. Here you can see it again. The top row is Japan, and Japan has got a lot of old people. They eat right and they live for a long time, and they don't have that many workers supporting them. So that is tough on the Social Security system. Here you can see the US. A while ago, we didn't have that many old people, but people are living longer. And so now we're going to have more and more old people whom we have to take care of. And they're going to collect a lot of Social Security, and the program's going to run low on money. Here you can see it another way. Back in 1975, we had a favorable dependency ratio. In other words, we had just a few dependents, just a few old people, and we had a lot of workers paying taxes into the Social Security fund. This one person didn't take that much out. But our country is getting older, and we have more and more old people and fewer workers. So our dependency ratio is basically getting worse from 3-to-1 to 2-to-1. Also, people are living more years in retirement. Okay, so let's look here at the United States. In the old days, in blue, people lived about 10 years in retirement. They retired at 65. A lot of these people smoked in the old days. They got cancer. They died at 75. And that was awful. But they didn't collect Social Security for a long time, and that was sort of helpful for the system. These days, fewer people smoke. We've got better medicine. People are taking better care of themselves. And you can see here in yellow, people are living longer and longer and longer. So they're going to be collecting Social Security checks for a long time. So where are we headed? Right now, we have enough money in the system, but again, all these baby boomers are starting to retire, and there are a lot of them, and they're going to live for a long time, and they're going to collect a lot of Social Security checks. And so the Social Security fund is going to run into a deficit. Okay, it's going to slowly run out of money. What are some of the possible fixes or solutions to this funding problem? There are four main solutions. And I'm going to ask you, which one of these do you think is best and why? Or what would you do to fix Social Security, which works in reducing elderly poverty, but it's running out of money? One thing we could do is we could raise the retirement age. Instead of retiring at 65, maybe you have to work till 70 to get all of your Social Security benefits. Thus, people would pay into the Social Security fund longer as workers paying taxes, and they'd collect Social Security for a shorter period of time. Now, how popular would that be? Do you think Americans would like to work longer? Yes or no? Why or why not? Another thing we could do is we could raise the Social Security tax rate above the 6.2%. Do you think Americans would like that? Would they like to pay a higher tax rate? Yes or no? Another thing we could do is we could raise the Social Security tax cap above its current $130,000. So think, who would be affected by that? Who's making more than $130,000? And would they like that solution? Another thing we could do is we could cut benefits. In other words, we could make Social Security means tested. That means the government looks at your means, they look at your financial situation, and they could say, let's say you're a millionaire, you're rich, great job, but you're not going to get any government Social Security checks. Again, I ask you, do you think the rich should get Social Security? And do you think the rich would like it to have their benefits cut after working for decades? So, what changes, if any, would you make to Social Security and why? And which of these four solutions do you think we should do and why? I hope this was clear. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.